Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, May 29th, 2018. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. Hope you had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. It's hot and muggy in the Gem City. We don't get spring. We went from winter to summer, but we aren't complaining. Duane is here today, as he is on every Tuesday. How is it in the capital city of Columbus, Duane?
The same as it is down there. It's like you said, we didn't have spring. We just went straight to summer. It is definitely warm and muggy. Had a great weekend though, and I love the weather for the weekend.
It was a great Memorial Day weekend. Like we said, we hope everybody had a great one. Going to be some changes coming to Bucknuts here in the next week or so. And by changes, I mean additions. We are tweaking some editorial stuff. A lot of it will have to do with our Sunday morning approach. Hopefully we will have an announcement on this tomorrow. We'll run a story on it, and we can all chat about it. Waiting for a few dominoes to fall in that respect. One new thing that we did debut recently, Bill Green and Duane go way back and did a piece called Bank and Duane, and they talk about stuff. Today what they did was, the most recent one they did is talk about quarterbacks. I want to go over that a little bit with Duane. Obviously, this offseason has been dominated by quarterback discussion at every level. And right now we're going to talk about 2019 and 2020. 2019 has become interesting for a lot of reasons. Everyone knows by now that follows recruiting, it's not a tremendous class. Not in Ohio, not nationally. So that had a lot to do with it. Duane, you've got some real strong feelings on quarterback recruiting in 2019. They do not have a quarterback on board now, and we were getting to the point where there's some question if they even will get one. Bring us up to speed on your vibes on 2019, the names involved, and what you would do if you're running the show.
Well, I've looked at so much film of the 2019 quarterbacks, just saying, okay, we're down to 3. The quarterback room is a little echoey right now with the lack of bodies in there. And you want to keep 4. 5 is even better. You want to keep quarterbacks from. They transfer. One quarterback plays, and somebody's going to leave. So, it'd be nice to add something, but what do you look at what's going on out there and you think, well, who do you want to add? And I can say this, and this I'm confidently saying this in the fact that I've watched so much film. Outside of Grant Gunnell, I just don't see anybody that can help us. If we bring somebody in, he's going to get recruited over immediately. There's just, even Gunnell. The last time I looked at his film, I just didn't like everything that I saw. I did not say, this is a kid. This is somebody we want for sure. And recently, it's out there now. There's conversation that maybe we don't want to. He's not really a take right now. That's part of him putting his decision off, and he's still looking around. And there's something to that we're not necessarily convinced, and we're trying to get kids to come in to camp and see them throw. 2019 just does not look great, and I gotta say, over time, I've come along to the decision that maybe we take a chance. We're looking at a situation where we got 2 guys ready to go, and we got a third guy we don't know. When Baldwin missed spring, that was huge. He was here, but he had the injury, so he never got to run the offense. Yeah, knowing the playbook is one thing. He got all the time in the world to study the playbook, but he did not get to run the offense. And you're going to throw him in there. He's a third-string guy, so he's not going to get a lot of reps once we get to camp. He's just not going to. hopefully he's ready to go, physically at least. And, we'll go obviously very run heavy and just try to get through the year without taking a guy. I would rather, at this point, we pass altogether on 2019. If we take anybody, Gunnell, and let's just move on. If, we really want him, there is definitely some conversation that we may not even want him. So I'd say let's just pass. Let's move on to 2020 where there are several guys.
Yeah, we'll get to 2020 here in a sec, but this is really interesting because there is a definite, I don't know what you'd call it, kind of a coaching theory that you should have a quarterback in every class, and then, in some classes you can take two to even that out. Well, what's happening here, in my opinion, pretty obvious, they don't have anybody they want in 2019 enough to batten down the hatches and go after it. And then it's very hard to get two quarterbacks to commit in a class at a place like Ohio State because the type of guy you're going after doesn't want to be in a quarterback class with someone else. So it's interesting. I don't know if that means they need to go the JUCO route or they need to get over the fact that they may not be a place where you can have four huge quality quarterbacks at one time, given the way, their stature and the type of guys they're going after. Now, so we talked about 2019. There's some kids in the state, they're still looking at Connor Bazelak out of Alter. I don't think he'll ultimately be a guy that could start at Ohio State. That's that's on them. But his other offers seem like schools are more interested in him, the Purdue's and the Louisville's of the world. So that'll be interesting. In-state makes it even more interesting, and the fact that they have a really good running back in John Bivens who's got an offer from a place like USC makes it interesting. But let's move on and talk a little bit about the class of 2020 quarterbacks. Now, make it clear, 2018 was a great year for quarterbacks. 2019 is not. 2020 is, I would say, closer to 2018. There's a quarterback out of California. I'm going to pronounce his name incorrectly. I'm going to call his name is DJ Ukulele to me. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. St. John Bosco, 6'4", 240 pounds. Basically the best quarterback prospect I've seen in a couple of years. Other guys that are very interesting, Harrison Bailey and then Jack Miller out of Arizona, who is a very heavy Ohio State lean. So this all figures into a massive quarterback cocktail here. Talk about 2020. I know you're a big fan of Ukulele.
Yeah, I was I was all in on Miller. I am still a big fan of Jack Miller, but Ukulele is just another level. My goodness, this kid, as you said, he's the best. He may be the best quarterback I have evaluated since Deshaun Watson. He's just, my goodness, what a incredible football player he is. Jack Miller's got a big arm. This kid's got a monster arm. And he's got a quicker release than Miller, and he's a little more athletic. He is really something special. We were talking about, the situation with Gunnell on the board yesterday. And someone mentioned, well, go all in on Jack Miller. I said, no, wait a minute. We got time. Let's see if we can get this kid at least interested. Let's take our time. Miller's going to be there. He is not showing signs that he's ready to commit, even though, if we couldn't get Ukulele interested or Harrison Bailey. Bailey is right up there with him. Then you go ahead and you jump all over Miller. You can't pass on a kid like that. You can't mess around. But we can take some time and see if we can get this kid. He's out of California. That's always a tough draw. But he's really special. Very quick release. That's another advantage he has over other quarterbacks. So I would at least take some time, try to get a feel for the kid. Do we got a shot at him? If we do, we got to try to get him. He is really special. And when he pulls it down and takes off, he can move. He looks like a really elite tight end when he takes off. So that 2020 is definitely better than 19 already. And think about the fact that we're talking about sophomores here. So who knows how good that class is going to be. But we've got to try to talk to this kid, see if we can get him in for a visit and see what's going on with him.
In a vacuum, I think I would agree with that, but I just don't think that's the way it's going to play out. Given this is where I think the circumstances will dictate. I do believe Jack Miller will be their quarterback in the class of 2020. I think they're going to have to pull the trigger on that as soon as they possibly can. In another situation, if the quarterback room is a little bit different, I could see them going all in for Ukulele. At this point in time, though, I just don't see how that's a prudent decision. Miller is a guy they've been after for a while. He may not finish as a number one QB in the class with Ukulele there. I think there's a very good chance he'll finish number 2. And he really does like Ohio State. The relationship has been built. So I think Jack Miller is going to be your quarterback in the class of 2020, and I think that's actually a wonderful development. 2019 is just an aberration. Overall, the class, if you look at it, just isn't the depth of talent that we've seen in other classes. When you're a place like Ohio State and you're recruiting at that level, you're going to see an impact when the elite players don't match up to the classes before them. We're going to finish with another position here. We talked a lot about wide receivers. 2 of the guys we did not get to that I wanted to get an answer from Duane. It does seem like, I'm not saying these guys are being compared to one another, but 2 of the names that are being discussed now heavily. Elijah Higgins, a wide receiver out of Austin, Texas, and Trey Knox, a wide receiver out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Who do you prefer for the Buckeyes? Knox has them favored. It looks like if they go all in, they could get him. Higgins, on the other hand, has just had a crystal ball put to Stanford. What's your vibe on the 2?
Well, I like Elijah better. He's just here's my thing with Trey Knox. He's good on the ball, and he's after the catch. The kid is just he goes to war. There is no just tackling him. You've got to. He just fights like a running back. He is just not going to go down. He's a big, strong kid. The thing is, this is something I've said as long as I've been doing this. There's, fast and there's fast enough. Well, I'm just not certain he's fast enough. Alex has said before he may be being looked at as a future H-back because, the real H-back, the tight end, growing into that. He's a big dude. That could happen. Maybe that's what they're thinking about doing with him. But I just look at him and I think this kid is not fast enough to play here. Now, hopefully, sometimes when you're looking at the bigger, taller guys, they can be striders and just not look as fast as they are. But I just look at him and I just don't see a kid that's fast enough to be at this level, not a wide receiver. So I'd rather have Higgins if I'm given the option to pick one. That's the route I would go.
We will see how it works out.
Here's the good thing.
Go ahead.
Here's the good thing about this, that a wide receiver is one of the only good positions in this class. As you mentioned earlier, this is just all around. It's not just the quarterbacks. This is just not a good class. 2019 is not. The wide receivers are looking pretty good.
No question. They've already got in the tank Garrett Wilson, who, this is not news, probably the best receiver they've gotten, complete receiver they've gotten in the bag here for at least the last few years. We appreciate Duane stopping by. Like I said, we'll have some announcements and some new stuff coming up later this week that we think you'll enjoy. Have a good one, Bucknutters.